Hello everyone, this is Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier, and here I am with you again on No Soundbites Allowed. I was taping an episode for you, and I wanted to really get into this on this pandemic, this coronavirus issue. And I got very emotional. It was a rant, and I want to take a step back. Let's be very rational here, because I'm upset. I'm very upset right now. And it's not about the things you think it should be. First of all, I don't believe that the coronavirus is anything more than a mild flu. I don't see that this is a pandemic. This is not an issue that we should be having a national emergency over. We should not be curtailing the First Amendment over the coronavirus. We should not be limiting people to less than groups of 500. You can't go out and enjoy entertainment. We should not see the NBA, the MLB, the hockey league. You shouldn't see entertainment end. And I have to tell you, if you're talking about getting rid of all the sporting events, yeah, that gets everyone's attention. It makes everyone say, oh my God, it must be deadly. This must be terrible because they're shutting down all of the entertainment, all the sports. Well, that means they're also going to have to shut down all the movie theaters. And why aren't we shutting down restaurants? Basically, everyone's going to have to sit at home and do nothing. Otherwise, you're going to expose yourself. But we're not doing that. We're not telling people who are getting petitions, like I have been doing for the last several days, not to go door to door. We're not telling people who are doing the census not to knock door to door. Even though we're shutting down cities like Rochester, which is ridiculous in New York State and just absolutely insane, we're not telling people not to do things that are going to put you in touch with other people. Because this isn't deadly. This is not the bubonic plague. It's not the swine flu. It's not SARS. This isn't deadly. You know what people should be worried about? If you want to worry about, and I'm being very serious here, if you want to worry about coronavirus, then you should be absolutely adamant and terrified of something that affects 46 million Americans every year and kills 3 million Americans every year. Think about it. That's 1,000% more deadly than coronavirus, and you haven't heard about this, but it's killing 3 million Americans every year. And you know what that is? Food poisoning. Every year, 46 million Americans suffer from food poisoning, and 3 million of them die. And they're not just old people. They're not just people with immune system deficiencies. It's everyone, of every age. That's a serious issue. And if you want to panic about coronavirus, the same kind of response would be if we had the same kind of response for food poisoning as we do for the coronavirus, you'd be eating water and rocks. And that's it. Because everything else would kill you. That's the same kind of panic that we have right now on the coronavirus. And I have to tell you, I think this is completely political. I think it's completely political on several levels. First of all, if it's absolutely so devastating, then we wouldn't have debates, and we wouldn't have people going out and getting petitions. We wouldn't have census workers going out and getting the population. But those are essential items for the politicians to be able to get money, to get reelected, to be able to get their donations for their campaigns. We're not seeing any of that stop, and you're not going to hear anyone say they're going to stop that. No, what you are hearing is fear. Be very afraid. And that justifies the stock market going down. That justifies that there's going to be a recession. And there is going to be a recession because of this. Not because there aren't jobs, not because the economy isn't doing well. It's because there's so much fear coming from the news media about the cases, not the deaths, not the deadliness of this illness, which is basically a mild flu. No. What they're talking about is how many people have been infected. Well, you know how many people were infected by flu in the last flu season that just ended? You know what you haven't heard? That number. How many people were infected by flu in the United States alone? 13 million people. 13 million people. More than all of the people who've been affected by coronavirus to date. By multiples. And you know how many Americans died? Somewhere between 12,000 and 30,000 Americans died because of the flu in just the last flu season. And they weren't just 70-year-olds or people with immune system deficiencies. And that was far deadlier. And we did not shut down the nation. We did not cut travel. We did not stop the NBA. And remember, people, sports figures, entertainers had flu and they were able to entertain people. Arenas full of people. This is not that serious, except for how it's impacting the economy and politics. That's where it's serious. President Trump's been able to talk about the economy doing exceptionally well. And Democrats have been promising that the economy was going to bail. In fact, according to Newsweek and all of the major news media, back in August of 2019, Bill Maher and many Democrats were talking about how they're going to watch this economy crash. They want to see a recession so that they have a chance to win the 2020 election. In fact, it wasn't just the news media, some of the news media. Hell, it was John Delaney, back when he was running as a candidate, was admonishing other Democrats for promoting and cheering on a recession that would hurt millions of Americans. Well, today we see that the Democrats have gotten exactly what they wanted. The media leans left and they've been promoting fear every single day. Oh my God, there are 100 cases in New York City. There's 200 cases of coronavirus in New York City. There's 8 million people in New York City. There's 100,000 people who are sick every day in New York City from everything from measles and mumps to the common cold. And you're telling me that 200 cases of coronavirus, that you need to shut down every school, you have to shut down Broadway, you have to shut down people being on the subway? I mean, really? Are you kidding me? That's not even one subway car full of people. And there are 100,000 people who are sick in New York City at the least, out of 8 million people who are in New York City. New York State is 20 million people, and you're telling me that nowhere in the state 500 people can come together, that we have to shut down an entire city and quarantine them because someone has a flu that only kills people who are over 70 and have immune deficiencies, a combination of both. I mean, think about it. When was the last time you heard this fact? It's a fact. Of the 40 cases of coronavirus that have happened, 17 come from one nursing home in Washington state. Almost half of all the cases are in one location. That's it. This is not deadly. Yes, it's infectious. Yes, it affects a lot of people. It's not deadly. But we are seeing this tank the stock market and take away from the election the conversation that, oh, the economy is doing well. We are seeing this affect businesses because businesses, I was just having a conversation with a politician, as an example, just the other day, and they had to cancel all of their meetings. And many politicians are canceling all of their meetings because, not because they're afraid of the coronavirus, they're afraid of one person getting a cold, having their opponents say, well, that's coronavirus, and that they were not being sensitive to the health of their constituents. That's it. They're worried about the political backlash, which I cannot blame any candidate of any race for saying that, whether they're Republican or Democrat. You have to cancel everything now. Otherwise, the other side's going to say, oh my God, you're insensitive. You help spread a disease. And that's just stupid. Because no one's dying from this. They just aren't. And I do have condolences and I do have feelings for the people who have died. And there will be more people who die, and there will be more people who will get infected. I know 100,000 people are infected. 13 million were infected with flu. We didn't lose our minds throughout the nation on that. We didn't shut down the nation because 30,000 people died from the flu. But we are for 40 people? Why? It doesn't make sense. And you're going to tell me, well, Mike, there's going to be more people who are going to be infected. Of course there are. But we've seen the mortality rate around the world. It's almost non-existent. This is not. If everyone in America got it, almost everybody in America is going to survive. Literally, we have a mortality rate that's what? 0.3%, if you're not 70 and already immune deficient, you're going to survive this at almost any age, with almost any health condition. Folks, don't buy into this fear. You're buying toilet paper, 1,000 rolls of toilet paper. For what? That's not going to protect you, not from a virus. And if you get sick, it's not going to make you healthier. Avoiding people isn't going to stop this airborne antigen from reaching you. Quite seriously, folks, I'm trying to be very serious here. We just lost Major League Baseball, the National Football, excuse me, not National, the NBA. We lost Major League Baseball. Soccer is being shut down. The Masters in golf is being affected. You know how many industries are being affected by that? Think of every small business in your local town, whether you're in a major city or not. Think of all the restaurants where people are not going right now. And those workers need you to be there to pay their bills. What about every bar? What about every, you name it, anything that people come to? Every business you can think of. These small businesses are going to be crushed. Many of them will never survive this. And we need to really think about how are we going to protect the people in the small businesses in our local communities, because some of them aren't going to make it through this. And it's not enough to say, oh, well, we have to get everyone tested and we need a couple $1 billion in testing. It doesn't really matter. What we really need is a package to say, hey, how are we going to keep these small businesses alive because of this panic that we've had? The pandemic is fear. That's what the real pandemic is right now. It's fear. And that fear is going to destroy the economy. It's going to give Democrats the recession that Bill Maher and the rest of them were promising and hoping for and cheering on, just so they can go into the 2020 election with Biden and say, don't pay attention to his gaffes. Don't mind the fact that he doesn't know what he's talking about. But you know what? Be happy because Trump actually spread coronavirus. That's what they're trying to tell you. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. So maybe I'm a little more calm now. I hope this makes more sense to you. But quite honestly, if you're in the stock market, I'd start buying. Why? Because America's not going to end. Coronavirus is not going to kill the world. If I were, for the politicians out there, let's not focus on the fake things. Let's actually focus on something that's important. I know I'm trying to. Let's try and figure out how we're going to protect the small businesses. And yes, we're going to try and take care of people's health. And I have no problem with that. I do have a problem with spreading fear and making people terrified of just having a cold. And what's going to happen next year when we get the next thing? When we get a real flu that's actually going to affect 13 million people again? We have to consider these things. These are the things that are really the important issues, not the fear-mongering that we see on TV right now. I swear to you, people, if this was so devastating, imagine if we had the numbers. Imagine if people were really paying attention. 46 million people with food poisoning. I'm pointing that out because it tells you the real scale of what we're looking at. Food poisoning kills 3 million people. Coronavirus kills 40. Which one do you really think is the danger to America? And if we're not willing to cause a national emergency over food poisoning, why in the world are we doing it over coronavirus? That's what I think. Maybe you have a different opinion. You know what? I want to hear what you think, especially if you know a way that we can help our small businesses throughout the nation to survive this panic. Please reach me out to me. My name, it's mconsult at Twitter. You can reach me at No Soundbites Allowed. On YouTube, you can reach me at Voss Political Commentary. On Facebook, I really want to hear what you have to say about this. Whether you agree with me or not, tell me why. And by the way, for those who are saying, it's spreading, that's not a reason. That's just a symptom. That's not a reason to be afraid, especially since it doesn't kill people. The mortality rate is nearly non-existent. So saying it's spreading, that's not that's fear. That's not a problem. Not a problem we really have to worry about. But like I said, reach out to me. I look forward to hearing from you all. Thank you for joining me.